Welcome back. Long time no see. We're doing part 2 now of the coil built flower pot with the sculpted face. We're still in the process of making the coil vase. So get your piece out. Here's mine on my lid that I can use as a banding wheel. Now that it's firmed up a little bit, and I'm not blending at the very bottom, I can remove the plastic completely and set it on top here without fear of it sticking, because the clay's firmed up a little bit and it's not so moist and wanting to adhere to the plastic lid. So this is going to be nice. I can spin this piece now like a banding wheel. First step, we got to get more clay, don't we? So I've got my bruiser clay, and I'm going to roll me out a couple of coils. Homeroom just started. It's 8 o'clock Friday morning. You all are at home. I'm at school. Something seems wrong about that. So I've got my snake-like piece of coil. I'm going to thin that out now. Again, a little bit bigger than your thumb is the size you want to roll the coils out to. So I've got my big coil now. We've got our vinegar. Remember, vinegar is 3 parts water, 1 part white vinegar. I've got my fork that I'm going to use as my tooth rib, scoring the surface of my coil pot. Brush some vinegar on. Score my coil. And start the process. I'm starting now to bring mine out in a small V like we talked about that first day. Again, when you put these on, I'm doing 1 continuous coil. If you want to break it down and do it in rings, you know that's absolutely fine. This will make the process go just a tad bit quicker for you. I've got the coils on. I would strongly suggest you do a little tap to make sure you got a good bond before we go into the blending process. And again, using that popsicle stick, keeping it moist, and I can blend. And again, using the lid like a banding wheel, I can just spin this piece and continue working in the same area. Make sure you aggressively move the clay. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you don't forcefully move that clay around, your coils are not going to adhere to each other, and you're going to get cracks, if not complete separation of your coils. So make sure you are moving the clay around. Notice I blended it one direction, and now I'm coming back the other way and blending the opposite direction. Again, moving clay around. You can see because I've got clay stuck to my stick that I'm blending with. Support the wall when you're doing the inside. If you do not support the wall when you're blending here, you're going to collapse that wall and it's going to lay out flat like a plate. We're not making plates. We're making flower pots. If you see the inside of here, this wide tool does a fairly good job of keeping things tidy and neat on the inside. I don't have a ton of excess clay smeared everywhere. See, it keeps the walls pretty clean on the inside. When you find yourself having high spots and then a low spot, to remedy that, we can just make a small coil. And we lay that small coil right in there to make sure our top lays up even. I wouldn't get too concerned with that unless it gets very far out of whack. But I'm going to lay a small coil in here about that big to try to remedy that just a little bit now. I'm more concerned with that in the finishing part. I want my finished pot to be even at the top. During construction, it's not nearly as important as it is in the finishing. So again, put a coil on, aggressively move the clay in one direction, come back in the other direction to make sure it's done, take care of the inside, and keep on adding coils until you get to your 7-inch height maximum. Remember, 7 inches tall, 7 inches wide is the maximum on this. I'm going to continue with coils and get mine to the height I want, and then we're going to come back and talk about smoothing the form out and making sure the lip is clean before we start into the face attachment. All right? There we go. See ya!